Hey, what's up guys? It's Eli, and I've got some back mount escapes today. And I haven't done a video on this in a while, and whenever I did last time, it was, I don't know, a handful of them, and I still think they're pretty good ones. They were all no-gi. Most of these are gonna be gi or no-gi applicable, but we are gonna show in the gi, so there are some gi considerations for it. I guess disclaimer first, like, don't put in the comments like, yeah, right, try that on Gordon or try that on Khabib. They're not gonna work because they're Gordon and they're Khabib. So these are technical escapes, and like any technique that I ever show, it's like these are principally sound. I probably learned these from other places, or at least pieces other places, and put them together. And so I think these are all kind of technically sound, depending on the energy and depending on whatever he's trying. They also are contingent on how early to late these escapes are. So I want to kind of show early to late on some of these. So the first thing we're going to look at is just we're going to be kind of sitting up like this. He's gotten my back somehow, and we managed to get in a seated position here. I want to try to keep his hands separated, because if he's gotten his hooks, this is already bad enough, but I don't want him to get a good strong seat belt as well. So I'm going to try to keep the hands separated. You can do whatever, like as far as pulling these apart, you can work inside and try to keep your wedges closed like this. I don't want him getting deep wedges or deep grips under my armpits. And I'd like from here, if we are in the seated position still, for me to be leaning forward. So this is all making it difficult for Alex to get a good grip on me here, so I'm keeping all this separated. The first one I want to look at is a pretty early escape. It's like a parachute escape, and I want to reach down and I want to pick up his 2 feet. I want to curl them up like I'm going to stick them in my mouth, but I don't really actually do that. And I'm going to, once I go to pick these up here, I want to pull them up and apart and put them behind me this way. And as I come out, I'm posting on one elbow so I can pivot, and now I'm back here. And we've just created essentially a scramble. So what it looks like a little faster, I'm fighting here like this, I pick these up, I scramble out, and I get to this position. As long as I escape, anything is an upgrade once he's off my back. Even if I get remounted, it's an upgrade, because I just went from the worst possible position possibly to now I'm not in that position any longer, so I'm not gonna get submitted. But a little bit later, maybe I wasn't able to get a good leaning forward here like this. I'm still kind of keeping inside. I'm using this home alone or reverse home alone kind of defense here. And I want to do this. I'm gonna dig my heels into the floor. And you'll notice that whenever I dig my heels into the floor and I point my knees up, it raises his 2 feet, right? So that means that it's rocking his weight backward, and that's what's gonna allow me then from here to scoot down. Now, once I scoot down like this, I want to try to kill one of his hooks on one side. So I'm going to drop my leg straight, and I'm going to use this arm to push it off. And I want to get my leg up here nice and high so he can't get that hook back very easily again. At this point, even if he's attacking for chokes and stuff like that, it's not the biggest deal in the world, because at this point, I can start to turn toward the side he still has the hook on. I want to make sure I keep this one away from me. And as I turn to this side here, I'm going to take both of my hands and stick under his leg here, not just one in, one out, because I don't want to sit up into a triangle. But I'm going to get both hands inside, turn in, and then hopefully I get through here somehow, maybe even have a guard pass built in, but I've got both of my arms outside of his leg, so I'm not sitting up into a triangle. So one more time on that one, we're here, I'm still fighting to keep his hands separated. I want to lift my knees up, I want to scoop my butt toward my heels, I want to kill one of his hooks, and then as I start to turn in, I'm dishing both of these arms toward the direction I'm going, inside of his leg. So at this point here, it's difficult for him to catch a triangle, to retake my back, to do anything else like that before I can start to turn around. And now I'm inside, and I'm starting to look to pass his guard, possibly with a double underhook pass or something like that. Now we're getting to a little later of concepts. He's gotten a seatbelt actually here. So whenever he's got the seatbelt, I don't like for him to have this over under, because especially if he can choose which side he's gonna take me to, because there's dangers on both sides, different attack options. And I don't want him to establish a really great position. So I'm gonna come here and I wanna get underneath his grip if I possibly can, and over his grip. So I'm going high and low like this. Now, once I get these two grips here this way, I like to try to go toward the overhook side. Now, the danger of this is that this is the arm that's gonna be a little bit more easily accessible to choke me immediately with like a rear naked choke. But this is also, it gives me a little less control on this side versus that side. If we get over here where he has the underhook, he's got a lot of good control. He's underneath me. It's harder for me to scoot out. So I want to take him, if I have my choice about it, get high and low grips, and I want to drive toward this side over here, trying to get my head to the floor. And then as I start to turn and look this way, I want, from here, he can't choke me as long as I'm holding this. So either I can push and separate his hands on my own, or if he's too strong for that, I can wait until he starts to do that. Once he goes to change his grip, now I get this good baseball bat grip here. I push the hand away from me and I tuck my head out to this side, and I get my arm, or I get his arm on the outside of my head here. So both his arms are on this side. Now from here, he can't get back underneath my neck very easily. It's difficult for him to get back on top of me, and I'm clear of his arm. The next thing I want to look to do from here is I want to start to focus on the leg. So now I start to shoulder walk out from here. The point we'll stop at right here is just where I get my leg up and I'm hooking inside this leg. At this point, a scramble is going to ensue, and I'm not sure exactly what he's going to look to do. He may try to turn up and face me, but as long as I have my hook inside, it's going to be hard for him to remount me, and I might even be able to work that into a sweep of my own. Now, something that we can do on this one too, and this is kind of a greedy kind of escape, and it's a very wishful thinking kind of thing, but if I can manage to get here and I do get these hands kind of separated and I start to bridge back onto him for this escape, once I get this arm to the other side of me over here like this, something that can happen is if I can reach up at this point and I can grab the back of Alex's neck here while I still have this arm and his head together this direction. Now, once I start to push this leg down and I start to get myself out and escaping, at this point, I can start to think about even maybe setting up my own Darce choke. Because right here, if Alex starts to come to the top position right here now, I can start to squeeze and I get my configuration like that into my very own Darce choke from the back. Again, this is a little bit bold and a little ambitious, but that doesn't mean it can't work. Because from here, if I do a good job of killing that overhook side, and as I'm driving back, I get like this, and I bring this arm to the other side. So now he wants to remount me possibly at this position, at this point. I want to catch the back of his neck. I want to keep this one pulled down nice and tight. I get myself out to the side, and then as I come up, I can get my own Darce choke possibly from there. So that's kind of a cool thing if the opportunity presents itself. So a basic thing that you'll learn early on whenever you get to the back mount, if you're in Alex's spot, is don't cross your ankles. And you'll hear this very early on, and there's a good reason for it. It's because like from this crossed ankle position, if I can push this down and then get my legs on top of it and figure four my legs on top of his crossed ankles, and then bridge myself back, push my knees down, and arch my back here like this, I can pop his ankle pretty good. I've seen people actually get their ankles broken with this. It works a little bit like a heel hook, but there's really a painful leverage point on that. So it's a good idea typically not to cross your ankles directly in front of the crotch whenever the person is able to cross back over. From my perspective, if he is here and I notice that he's not necessarily doing it, but he's also not paying really good attention to it, then I can cross them for him and then put my own legs on top of it. Now, this, of course, in gi competition is illegal typically because they treat it kind of like a heel hook, but it's still a really good move. So just be cognizant if you're this guy in training, probably don't cross your ankles directly in front of the guy. So, body triangle is probably one of the worst like configurations to find yourself in if somebody's on your back. So Alex has this body triangle here, and he's doing a good job, but he's hiding his foot back here. If he doesn't, then what I want to try to look to do, if I can catch his foot out this direction, is I want to try to kind of fish back and find it here this way, and I want to get my leg here and bring it back in front. Now with it back in front, I can go back to start doing some of my other traditional escapes. So the big thing that I would kind of like to do here is if he's got me in the body triangle and he's pulled me off to the side over here, I want to try to prevent that leg from hooking behind my leg. So I want to try to straighten this leg, get it out, and then pull his foot back in front. This relieves a lot of the pressure, and now I can start to kind of work back into some of my other escapes. This is actually the harder side over here because he has an easier time hiding this one back and stopping me from being able to get that. But that's still what I want to try to do. If from here I can take him to the other side, to the side of the connection, it's actually a lot easier for me to get my leg behind this one because I can walk my hips back a little bit more. I can get his foot back in front of me. I can even use this one to help to pick it up. And now from there, I've just got his legs crossed in front of me, which again is not ideal, but it's still at least something where I can start to go back and work myself out and get my escape. Because I get people asking me like, well, what if he has your back and he's got a fully locked in rear naked choke? Well, you're probably gonna either tap or you're gonna pass out. Like when there's a fully locked in submission like that, then there's only so many things you can do so late. But I'll give you a couple of ideas about how to prevent late things or how to get yourself out of late conditions. If Alex is taking me toward this side here and he's starting a rear naked choke, right? If he's starting a rear naked choke, so he's not using the material, then typically what I want to try to look to do is I want to look toward the connection of where the hands are going to connect, right? So if he's going to go here for just a short choke or a full-on rear naked choke, then I want to turn and look the direction of the connection of the hands here, this way, right? I want to reach and try to peel this hand out from the back of my head, get this top arm kind of extended here like this, and then I want to turn and look toward the hand, not toward this side here, because that's going to be a lot more powerful of a choke. So this is how I would like to try to do this, and then we're just going to keep hand fighting. Once I have this one extended, then I want to reach up and start to peel, and we're back into this hand fighting process, and then we can go back and start to look to do our escapes like before. Now, it changes though, it's a different story if he's doing a collar choke. So if instead, we're here, if Alex is starting inside for like a sliding collar or single wing or whatever the choke is, I no longer want to turn and look toward the direction here. I actually want to look up at the elbow on this side because the mechanics of finishing the choke are different. He now wants to pull back, so I'm going to look the direction of his elbow instead up here, right? So since I'm looking up at that side, I want to raise this arm up here and I want to peel his elbow instead of his hand this time. And if I do a good job, I can pull this one around here this way. And I've even got a little tight wrist lock here. If I just pull down and crunch, that wrist lock, I don't expect to tap him. It'd be really cool if it did, but I don't expect that to get the finish. I just expect it to make him want to let go maybe. And now we're here. Now I'm starting to get better because anytime I get both his arms on one side, typically that's a lot better than me being between his arms because that's going to be the optimal place that he could submit me, right? So just from a conceptual standpoint, this seat belt that he's trying to establish the whole time gives him a great framework to be able to employ a lot of different attacks, not just rear naked choke or collar chokes, but also arm locks and reverse triangles and stuff like that. So I would like to not allow this to happen, but if it does happen, I would like to do something to be able to get both his arms on one side of my body and then I have an escape route on the other side. So that's one of the biggest principles that we want to follow whenever we're doing any of these escapes. I am going to talk about one that I get questions about more from a self-defense standpoint, but it also happens a lot of the time for newer people that get in this prone kind of belly down position. So this is probably about the worst place that you can wind up is if I'm here and Alex is mounted on my back like this. This is horrible because if he starts choking me right now, especially if he starts like get his feet hooked underneath me and all this, like this is just absolutely miserable. And again, if he gets deep in on that choke, then I'm gonna have to tap. If he has his feet hooked in really tight, I'm gonna have to tap. But there are things, even at this late stage of the game, that I can do for an escape. And one of the escapes that I can look to do from here, again, I'm keeping my elbows, trying to keep my arms underneath me at first, the best that I can. And then I'm gonna do kind of a Superman pose where I'm gonna punch this arm up here, like Superman or Statue of Liberty style, where I go like this. Now, if you look at my legs, what's happening with my legs here, I wanna make sure that I'm getting my knees in between his ankles. And at first, they're open this way, and as I punch this way here, I'm gonna turn that direction. If this is my right arm, I'm gonna turn and look to my left. As I do that, I'm gonna switch my two legs here, and this bottom leg here is gonna come underneath here. So essentially what's happening as I turn, I'm getting my knee hopefully underneath like this, and then I get to this side, I've already got myself an elbow escape started here, so I can start just finishing this out like an elbow escape would be. So again, if I start, he somehow got me all the way prone down like this here. This is a horrible position. I want to go drive this hand up, and as I do, I'm switching my two legs here like this, and this leg hopefully is going to already start to fish underneath as if I'm going to start my own elbow escape at this point, and then finish out the elbow escape either to half guard or to full guard, depending on what you feel like you can get away with and what you're good at. And the biggest thing that I want to reiterate over and over again is that even if me escaping back mount winds me up getting mounted again, I'm still in a big upgrade because he was just in what is arguably the most powerful, superior position, and I just got out of that position, so I'm still doing a lot better than I was, and I have a lot better of a chance of being able to defend now. All right, guys, so I hope that you get some good information out of these. I've got a lot of other escape videos out there on YouTube. I've also got some instructionals with BJJ Fanatics. I just put one out recently on escaping bottom side control positions, and it's not just bottom escapes, but it's escapes and attacks from bottom side control, so it's a lot of fun. And so anyway, I appreciate you guys watching, whether it's on here or whether it's on my Patreon, which I have one of those too if you want to check it out, patreon.com/nightjujitsu, and or Instagram, anything like that. Follow me on all the things if you would. I'd really appreciate it, and I appreciate you guys watching. Thanks a lot.